and the place value table, how to read and write the decimals and decimal as fraction and vice versa, right? We have also solved the exercise 8.1, right? So in this class we are going to learn about the decimals having the hundreds place and thousands places. Okay, yes, you may see here, there is a box. In that box are divided into 100 equal parts, right? So in the 100 equal parts there are shaded the 15 parts, right? So here they are shaded the 15 parts out of 100. Then how can we write in the decimal? Is first write in the fraction form and write it as a decimal form. Okay, so in the 15 parts are shaded. So how can we write? Total number of boxes or squares are 100. In that 15 squares are shaded. So we can write it as 15 by hundreds. We can read it as 15 hundreds. Okay, so now we can write it as a decimal form 0.15. 0.15. In the second box, you can see here, so the box is divided into 100 equal parts. So in the 100 equal parts, they shaded the 50 parts, right? So they are shaded the 50 parts. So how can we write as in the fraction form? Is total number of squares or 100 and number of squares are shaded here 50, right? Is how can we write this fraction as decimal? As you may see here, so it is 50 hundreds. You can read this fraction as 50 hundreds. Okay, so then write it as 0.50. Okay, so we can read it as 0.50. Right? Yes. Then shall we write how to write the fraction as decimal form and decimal as fraction? Okay, yes, see here the reading and writing of decimals. Yes, I will take one of the example here. For 40 plus 5 plus 5 by hundreds. 40 plus 5 plus 5 by hundreds. So yes, how can we write it as in the decimal form? Right? As you may see here, 40 plus 5 is a whole number. We can add it easily. 40 plus 5, 45. And here there is a decimal part, means 500s. Right? So 500s, there is no tens place. Right? So what we have to write in the tens place? We have to write it as 0. And in the 100 place, there is a 5. Okay, 45.05. In the previous class, I told you that. So, how to read the decimal number after the decimal point? So, after the decimal point, we have to read it as single digit. Okay, so we can read it as we have to read the whole part, and after decimal point, we have to read it as single digit. Okay, now 45.05. Okay, so we can't say that 45.5. Okay, it is wrong. So we have to read it as 0.05. Okay, then let's see the other one example having the thousands place. Okay, is 400 plus 50 plus 6 plus, then I will show you. So 1 tens plus 500s plus 4000s. Is what it says that, so in the thousands place, so one of the box is divided into 1000 equal parts. In the 1000 equal parts, they shaded the 4 squares. Okay, so that means 4 thousands. Okay, yes, now write this number as a decimal form. Okay, I will write here. First add the whole numbers. 400 plus 50 plus 6 means 456. Okay, it is a whole part. 456. Write it as it is. Then keep the point So 1 tens. So 1 tens means in the tens place we have to write 1 and 5 hundreds. So 5 hundreds means in the hundreds place we have to write 5 and 4 thousands. So it is the tens, hundreds, then the next place is thousands. In the thousands place there is a 4. Okay. Yes. Now it can be read as 456.154. Okay. Don't read it as 154. Okay. So after the decimal point, read it as single digit 456.154. Okay. Yes. Now fill the decimal numbers in the place value table. As you can see here the place value table, here there is a ones, tens, hundred, then tens, hundreds, thousand. Okay. Yes, the first number I will fill here 45. So 45 is a whole part and 05 is a decimal part. Okay. So in the 5 is in the ones place. So we have to write in the ones place. Then 4 is in the tens place. We have to write it in the tens place 4. And in the hundred place there is no number. Just to keep the dash. Okay. Now in the 0 is in the tens place. Decimal point of the first place is the tens place to the right of the number. Okay. So here 0 is the tens place. We have to write it 0. And 5 is in the hundreds place. Okay. So 5 is in the hundreds place. We have to write in the hundreds place. Okay. So if there is no number, just keep the 0. Okay. Then the second number is 456.154. Yes, now you can see here it is the whole part. We can count it as ones, tens, hundreds. Okay. In the decimal parts, 1 is in the tens, 5 is in the hundreds, 4 is in the thousands. Right? So yes. Now write it as 4 in the hundreds place and 5 in the tens place, 6 is in the ones place and 1 is in the tens place, 5 in the hundreds and 4 in the thousands place. Okay? Is it clear? Yes. Let's go to learn how to write the decimal as fraction and vice versa and in the simplest form. Okay? Yes. Now write decimal as fraction. Okay. So here I have taken the 3 examples. Okay. So the first decimal is 0.04. Okay. So 0.04. How can we write it as a fraction? We know that here 4 is in the hundreds place. Right? So we can write it as 0.04 which is equals to 4 is in the hundred place. So we have to write it as 4 by 100. Okay. So and also we have to write it the fraction as in the simplest form. Okay. 4 by 100. So it can be easily divided by the number 4. Right? Yes. Divide the both numerator and denominator by 4. Okay. Yes. 4 how much are 4? 4 ones are 4. Then 4 how much are 100? 4 25s are 100. Yes. Now we can write it as therefore 0.04 which is equals to 1 by 25. Okay. Yes. Then similarly B bar 2.34. Yes. 2.34. You can see here point after there are the 2 places, that is hundreds place. So we can completely say it as 34 hundreds. Okay. Yes. Now we can write here. So 2.34 is equals to, it is 2 whole plus 34 hundreds. 34 hundreds. Okay. So here the lowest place is 100, right? So here the highest place is or greatest value place value is tens. Okay. We know that point of the numbers, point of the places are going to decrease. Okay. So here higher greater place value is tens. It has 4 has hundreds. So we can write it as 34 hundreds. Okay? Yes. Now you can write here 2 plus 34 by 100. So it is not in the simplest form. Then simplify the 34 by 100. Let's see here which number can divide both the numerator and denominator. Let's see here 34 by 100. So these two numbers are divided by the same number, that is 34 by 100 is divided by the same number, that is 2. Right? Is in the next step write it as 2 plus 2 how much are 34? And that is 2 17 ja 34. Then 2 how much ja 100? That is 2 50 ja 100. Okay, now we can write it as 2 whole 17 by 50. So 17 is a prime number, so it cannot be divisible by the same number 50. So we can write it as it is 2 whole 17 by 50. Okay. Then next example 0.342. So we can read it as 342 thousands. Right. So here the last place is thousands place. So we can say it as 342 thousands. It means in the thousands squares they shaded the 342 squares. Okay. Yes. Now write here 0.342 which is equals to 342 thousands. Okay. Yes. Now you can simplify this fraction 342 and 1000. Is it divisible by any other numbers? Yes, you may see here 1000 is divisible by 4 and 8. And let's see is it divisible by 4 and 8 or not. Okay. So here there is a 42. So 42 cannot be divisible by the 4. Right? Yes, simply divide by the 2. Is 342 divided by 1000. Sorry. Divide both the numerator and the denominator by the number 2. Yes, so 2 how much are 342? 2 1 ja 2, remaining 1 here, 2 7 ja 14 and 2 1 ja 2. Okay, then 2 how much are 1000? 2 500 ja 1000. Okay, now 500 and 171 cannot be divisible by the same number, then write it as it is. Okay, yes. Here writing a fraction as decimal. Okay, so here I have taken the 3 examples. In the first one is 3 by 4. Yes, so while we are converting the fraction as decimals, we have to make the denominator as 10, 100 and 1000. Right? So here there is a 4, so we cannot make it the denominator as 10. Why? Because in the 4 tables we cannot get the 10. Means 4 and 4 2 ja 8, 4 3 ja 12. Here there is no 10. Right? So we have to convert it as a 100. For how much are 100? We know that 25 4s are 100. Right? And making the denominator as 100 here. Okay? Yes. Right here 3 by 4 multiply and divide by the same number, and here make it the denominator as 100. 4 how much are 100? 4 25s are 100 or 25 4s are 100. Okay, then multiply the numerator by 25. 3 25s are how much? 3 25s are 75. Right? So now 75 by 100 is the decimal fraction. Okay, yes, now write it as, therefore 75 by 100 can be written as the decimal form. So 75 hundreds means we can write it as 0.75. Okay, so it is 75 hundreds because the last place is hundreds, so we can just say it as 75 hundreds. Okay, then similarly do the B1 7,000s. 7,000s means here in the 1000 equal squares they shaded only the 7 squares, right? So we have to write it as 7 by thousands is equals to 7,000. So we have to write it in the thousands place 7. Okay, write right view 0 point in the 1 tens place 0, 100 place 0 and in the 1000 place we have to write 7. Okay. Then the third one is 60 plus 3 tens plus 5 thousands. Okay. So here 16 is a whole number and 3 by 10 is a decimal fraction and 5 thousands is a decimal fraction. Okay. Then write it as 16 is a whole number, write it as it is and keep the point, and 3 tens. So 3 tens means decimal after first place is 3 and here there is no 100 place. They didn't given, that means it is 0. Okay. Then 5 thousands. So here we have to write it as 5 in the thousands place. Okay. Now we can read it as 16.305. Okay. Or else we can also read it as 616 and 305 thousands. Is how can we say it as? So 16 and 305 thousands. So 5 is in the thousands place, it is the last place. So we can say it as 305 thousands. Okay. 305 thousands. Okay. Is it clear? Let's see some more examples. If they are given in the words, how can we write as a decimal number? Okay. Now I have taken the 2 examples. Write this as decimals. Okay. The first one is 306 and 7 hundreds. Right. So 306 and 7 hundreds. Is how can you write this in decimal number? Is right here. 306. So 306 is a whole number and 700 means 700 means 7 by 100. Right? 7 by 100 means here the ones place, sorry, the tens place is 0. Right? So we can write it as 306 plus 0 tens plus 7 hundreds, right? Yes, which is equals to 306. The decimal 0 tens can be written as 0 and 7 hundreds. So 306.7 tens, or we can read it as 306.07. Okay. Then the second one is 9 and 25 thousands. 9 and 25 thousands. You see, a 9 is a whole number, write it as it is. So plus 25 thousands. So 25 thousands. In the 1000 square boxes, so they shaded only the 25 squares. So how can we write it as it is? So then 9 plus in the ones place, sorry, in the tens place there is no number. So we can write it as 0 tens plus 2 hundreds plus 5 thousands. Right? Yes. Now we can write it as in the decimal form. Okay. So which is equals to 9 point. So 0 tens means that is 0 and 2 hundreds means in the hundreds place we have to write 2 and 5 thousands in the thousands place we have to write it as 5. So now we can read it as 9.025 or else 9.25 thousands. Means here the last place is thousands, so we can read it as 25 thousands. Okay, so if we are reading like that, don't say the point. We have to say as and. Okay, 9 and 25 thousands. Okay, is it clear? Yes. Up to here we have learned how to read and write the decimals having the hundreds place and thousand place, and in the how to write the place value table of tens and hundreds and thousands, and decimal as fraction and vice versa, and we have written in the lowest form also. Okay, so in the next class we are going to solve the exercise 8.2.